much clever though. He was still from head to foot with his desire to be original, but his category as we have above is much more unhappy than Mr. The thing I've covered the me if he imagines himself maintaining or perhaps throughout his life to be a man of genius and originality, nevertheless preserves in his heart a little one of doubt or maintaining perhaps throughout his life to be a man, a genius of originality, nevertheless preserves in his heart a little hint of doubt and makes drive him so far that the present man sometimes ends up completely instinct if he seems vulnerability completely poisoned by blame further in upon himself. We have been indicated children in extreme instincts. It is greatly important that the present category of people listen the words of the record the Lord will give out more will and less towards his days, but that's all. But still, before reconciling and submitting, these people sometimes spend extremely long time acting up from the use of the age of submissions and all of desire from original even comes upon strange cases. Some honest man, out of desire to be original, is even ready to commit a base of deeds. Tragically, these people sometimes spend an extremely long time acting up from their youth till the age of submission. From out of us desire to be original, one even comes upon to strange cases. Some honest men out of desire to be the original, even are ready to commit a base deed. It can happen that one of these unhappy persons is only honest but not even kind. The providence of his family, who by the honest but even the providence of his family, who by the only honest but even kind of providence of his family, who by his labor supports and provides not only for his own but even for him. The thought was fulfilled in his man's obligations, so him. The thought that he fulfilled his human obligations, so him. The thought was fulfilled his human obligations, so him. Well-being's neither peace nor comfort, on the contrary, that is even well-being neither peace nor comfort, on the contrary, that is even well-being's neither peace nor comfort, on the contrary, that is what irritates him. This, he says, is what I've borne my whole life for. This is what I bound in me hand and foot. This is what kept me from discovering gunpowder. If it hadn't for that, I'd certainly discover either gunpowder or America. I don't know for sure, but I certainly have discovered. Have is no for sure, but I'd certainly have discovered it. What is the most characteristic out of the gentlemen is that all their lives they are indeed enabled to find out what precisely they've needed to discover. so precisely. They have been preparing all their lives to discover gunpowder in America, but suffering of their lives to discover gunpowder in America, but in suffering of their lives to long of for discovery. They truly have enough of a share in them for Columbus or a Galileo. Gavril Adlyanovich was starting out precisely in that line, but he was only starting out, and he had a long time ahead for acting up in a profound continual awareness of his talentlessness, and at the same time an insuperable desire to be convinced that he was most an independent man, painfully wounded his heart, and even almost from the age of adolescence. He was a young man with envious and impulsive desires, and it seemed that had been born with frayed nerves. He mistook the impulsiveness of his desires for the strength with his passionate desire to distinguish himself. He was sometimes ready for the most reckless leap, but when it came to the point of the reckless leap, our hero always proved too clever to venture upon it. This was killing him. His base deed so long achieved something he is cruised, but for purpose when it reached the limit, he always proved too honest for extremely base deed. On a small base deed, however, he was always ready to agree. He looked upon the poverty and to decline, was always ready to agree. He looked upon the poverty and decline of his own family with loathing and hatred. He even treated his mother with hostility and contemptuously, though he understood very well that his mother's character and reputation had so far constituted the main support of his own career. Having entered Epanchin's service, he immediately said to himself, "If I'm mean, then shall I be mean to the end, so long as I went out." And he was almost never mean to the end. Why, he imagined that frightened of a Galileo, but he had dropped the airfare. He had been frightened of a Galileo then, but he had not dropped the affair. But she would stoop to him. Then during his story with Nastasia Filipovna, he had suddenly imagined to himself that the achievement of everything lay in money, if its meanness. He had repeated to himself every day with some satisfaction, but also with certain fear. If its meanness, it's also getting to the top. Encouraged himself consistently, a routine man that would turn timid in his case, but won't turn timid. Having lost Aglaya and crushed by the circumstances, he had lost heart and completely had actually brought the prince's own money thrown to him like a crazy woman, to whom it has also been brought by him, and a crazy woman, whom had also been brought 1,000 times. He consistently gloried it in Petersburg, but for those 3 days he also came to hate, saying, "Not everyone would be himself to do, but noble self-recognition, that is all his anguish, but is consistently pinched vanity, made him suffer terribly. Only a long time afterwards did he see him clearly and convinced of how seriously his affair with such an innocent, strange being as a crime might have turned out. Remorse clawed at him. He abandoned his work and sank out into English and destruction. He lived in Pitson's house and his expense with his father and mother, despite Pitson openly threw at the same time listened to his advice and was angrily for the instance. Said that fact, Pitson did not aim to was angry for instance, but at fact Pitson did not aim to become a Rothschild and had not set himself that goal. If you're a serious, go through with it. Squeeze people dry, coin money out. Assure, go through with it. Squeeze people dry, coin money out of them. Become a character, become the king of Jews. Pitson was a modest and quiet. He was only smiled, but even found it was modest and quiet. He only smiled, but once he even found it necessary to have a serious talk with Ganya, and even did it with certain dignity. He proved to Ganya that he was not doing anything. He wasn't doing anything dishonest, and that she should not call him a Jew. That if money had not so much value, it was not his fault. That he acted truthfully and honest, and that in reality he was only an agent and truthful and honest. In reality, he was only an agent in these affairs. And finally, that thanks to his accuracy in business, he was already known for quite a good standpoint to some most excellent people, that his business was expanding. Rothschild I won't be, and that's why should I, he added, laughing. But I'll have a house on Waitiana, maybe even two, and that will be the end of it, and who knows, maybe three, he thought to himself, but never said it out loud and kept his dream hidden. Nature loves and never said it out loud, but kept his dream hidden. Nature loved and coddles such people. She will certainly reward Pitson not only with 3 but 4 horses, and precisely because he known since childhood that he would never be a Rothschild, but beyond 4 houses. Nature will not go for anything, and Pitson matters will end here. Gabrielle Adlyanovich, little sister, was an entirely different person. She also had strong desires, but was more persistent. She dreamed of things reached the final limit, but it did not abandon her before the limit either. True, she was also one of the usual people who dreamed of originality, but she was very quickly managed to realize that, not grieved over it all that much. Who knows, maybe from a particular sort of pride she had made herself first. A practical step was extreme resolutiveness by marrying Mr. Pitson. But marrying him, She did not say to herself, if I'm to be mean, then I'll be mean. So long as I not say to herself, if I'm mean, I'll be mean. So long as I reach my goal. Something Gavril Adrianovich would not have failed to say on such an occasion, and almost did not say in her presence when approving of her decision as an older brother. Quite the contrary even. That her Vera Adlayanovna got married after solidly convincing herself that her future was a husband that was modest, agreeable man, almost educated, who would never commit any great meanness. Varvara Adlayanovna did not look into small meanness, was too trifling, and where are these trifle? No one's looking for ideals. Besides, she knew that by marrying, no one was looking for ideals. Besides, she knew that by marrying, she was provided a corner of her mother and father. Her brother, seeing all brother in misfortune, she wanted to help him. In spite of all previous family misunderstandings, Pitsum sometimes argued Ganya in a friendly way, naturally, to find a job. Despite generals and leadership sometimes said to him jokingly, but generals and generalship had sometimes said to him jokingly, but look at all of them. They would end up as generals in their turn. If you live long enough, you'll see it. What made him decide that I dispense generals and generalship? Ganya thought to himself sarcastically. To help her brother, Vera Adlayanovna decided to widen the circle of activities. She warned the way in the pensions. Her brother's dad played with the pension girls in the childhood. We shall note here that if in her visits to the pensions Varvara Adlayanovna had been pursuing some extraordinary dream, she might at once have left the category of people in which she had a rather well-founded calculation here. On her part, it was founded on the character of the family. Aglaya characters she studied tirelessly. She had set herself the task of turning to them. Her brother and Aglaya to each other then. It may be actually her brother and Aglaya to each other again, and maybe she actually achieved something, and maybe fell into an error, but counting too much on her brother, for instance, was expecting something from him that could never, and in no way give in any case. She acted rather skillfully at the pensions for weeks at times. She made no mention of her brother, but was always extremely truthful and candid, bore herself simply with dignity as depth of her conscience, was not afraid of looking there, and did not reproach herself for anything at all. It was that gave her strength. There was only one thing that sometimes noticed in strength. There was only one thing that sometimes noticed in herself, that she too was perhaps angry, that in her too was a great deal of self-love and even all pinched vanity. She noticed it especially at certain moments, almost every time She knows that she every time left the pensions, and now she was returning from them, and as we already said, in rueful pensiveness, something bitterly mocking could also be glimpsed in ruefulness. I need to go pee.